Welcome to the Visual Basic Programming recording for how to do the week 3 work called Area of a Triangle Flowchart. And I wanted to make this a separate recording so that you don't have to watch the whole lesson recording to see how to do this, because I always go over these assignments in lesson recordings. So I'm going to go down here to Assignment Area of a Flowchart. And first thing I want to do as this comes up is we need to learn what a flowchart is. So I'm going to hit the back arrow a couple of times. And what a flowchart is a visual guide of how something is done. For instance, imagine in the morning if you're going to make toast. Well, the flowchart for you to make toast would be to obtain bread. So you'd either get it out of the refrigerator or the bread box. Put bread in toaster, that's step number 2. Push the button down on the toaster, that's step number 3. Grab the toast when it pops up, that's step number 4. Then step number 5 would be to butter the toast. So you would put those steps in a chart similar to this. Well, in programming, you use flowcharts to diagram the steps that a computer program would take. So example, this is a flowchart to add two numbers together. So the first thing this flowchart does, or the computer would do, is it would read whatever the first number is. And you can see that this read command is in this box with the diagonal edges and this parallelogram. Those are used for inputs and outputs. So you input the first number, then it reads the second number, so it inputs the second number. Then it adds both numbers together in this. So if you have the number 2 as the first number, then the number 3 as the second number, they would add them both together. So you do that in your mind, or the computer does it, and then the results would be 2 times 3 equals 6. The results would be right here, the number 6. So this rectangle is where actions are taken or operations are done. And then we have the output down here. Again, that has the diagonal sides, the parallelogram. So these two things are input, this is output, and this is a programming application or an activity the computer does. And then start and stop always are ovals. So that is doing this flow chart, and this would be adding 2 numbers. Now imagine if you were adding 20 numbers together. You'd have to read first number, read second number, read third number, read fourth number. This thing would be huge, wouldn't it? But let's take a quick look down here. Let's look at this one. This uses a counter. So if we think about a program to add 2 numbers, first the counter starts at 0. Then it comes down here and the computer says, check if the counter is less than 2. Well, if the counter is less than 2, yes, then it says put in a number. So we put in the number 2. Then it comes back here and it says check if the counter is less than 2. Well, the counter is 1, isn't it? Because we put one number in so far. So yes, it's less than 2, so then it puts in another number. So it puts in the number 3. Then it goes up here and says check if the counter is less than 2. Well, no, the counter is not less than 2. Now the counter is equal to 2. So then it's going to be a no. Then it goes over here and it adds up those 2 numbers. And then it prints the results. So you can see that this flow chart is much simpler to draw than this flow chart. If this flow chart was actually it's harder to draw for a flow chart with 2 numbers, but imagine down here, if we go to the check to the counter, check if the counter is less than 2, if we put less than 20, then that means that it would go through these steps right here 20 times. Then it would finally add them all up, and you'd get the results for this going through 20 times. So to do a flowchart for a program that adds 20 numbers together, it's much easier doing it at the bottom flowchart with the counter than with this one where you have read first, read second, read third, read fourth, read fifth, read sixth, etc. So it's much easier to use counters to do continuous applications like that, or continuous formulas. So that gives you the idea of a flow chart. And again, this flow chart up here adds two numbers, it does the math right here, and then it prints the results. So the reason we need to know that is because now we need to go to our example or our assignment, and in this assignment, and you'll be looking at all these slides as you go through the lesson presentation, the formal presentation, but for this assignment, you're going to figure the area, which is A, and the area would be all the green space inside this triangle. And every triangle, you can figure out the area of the triangle by taking the 1/2 times the base times the height. So the base is how wide this is, and the height is how tall this is. So let's say that this base was 8, this height was 7, then 7 times 8 is 56, times 1/2 would be equal 28, right? So the area of this would equal 28 if the B equaled 8 and the H equaled 7. So now we know how to do this formula, and if you remember a minute ago, I talked about where the formula goes in a simple flow chart like this one. So let's go back now to page 5. Oops, actually it was page 4. Let's go back to this and let's think about this. Now we're going to take this and think about that for area of a flow chart, or area of a triangle flow chart. So start and then read first number. Well, this won't read first number, but this would read base, right? So it would read B. This would read second number. Well, it wouldn't read second number for area of a triangle, but it would say read H. So it's reading the base up here, reading the height, and then in here we put in the formula. And remember that formula is 1/2 BH. That means 1/2 times B times H. The formula could also be 0.5 BH, or the formula could be BH divided by 2. Those all do the same thing. So the formula goes in here, and then print the results. You could put print the results. You could put print A, capital A, which would be print the area. So it would print the number that was figured out when it did the math right here. So you're going to take the area of that flow chart, the area of a triangle flow chart, the formula, A equals 1/2 times B times H, and you're going to put them in these areas right in here in order to end up with the right results. So that's how the flow chart, this is how a flow chart works. And again, the flow chart for figuring this is going to be input B, input H, do the math, which would be 1/2 B times H, and then the next to last step would be to solve the math, or print the answer, I mean, the next to last step, and then the last step would be stop. So that's pretty easy on how to do this flow charting activity. And it's worth 10 points. When you do this work, just save it as week 3 area of a flow chart, triangle flow chart. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you get 10 out of 10 on this assignment first time.